Hello folks, happy Easter and welcome to this week's edition of the UK car news. Soaring petrol costs drive UK inflation to a 30-year high, this one coming from the BBC. No massive surprise here, is it? But UK inflation rose to 7% in the year to March, the highest rate since 1992, and up from 6.2% in February. I won't get into the politics of it. Basically, between February and March, petrol went up 12.6p a litre and diesel went up by 18.8p a litre. That compares to the same period last year where they went up by about 3p. Shocking, really, isn't it? Our family Touran I took to Tesco petrol station yesterday. You know, it's always one of the cheaper places to go. And had a quarter of a tank in it. I filled it up because we've got a few things coming up. And it cost 82 quid for 3/4 of a tank of diesel in the Touran. It's bonkers, that, isn't it? Absolutely bonkers. Very tough for a lot of people, all this at the moment. So, you know, if you are struggling a bit at the moment, hang in there. Hyundai Ioniq 5 has been named World Car of the Year. This is from Auto Express, by the way. There we go, Auto Express. The cool crossover beat sister brand Kia's EV6 and the Ford Mustang Mach-E to the overall crown. Well, it's also named World Electric Car of the Year, beating the Mercedes EQS and the Audi e-tron GT. To complete the hat-trick, the Ioniq 5 was also named World Car Design of the Year. Obviously, I spent some time with one of these recently, not very long. There is a video for it if you want to go and check that out. And when I finished driving the car, one of the PR people from Hyundai just asked me what I thought of it. I said, sort of without being too emotional, I think it might be the best all-round car I've ever driven. Don't get me wrong, there are other cars that do certain things better, but I can't think of another car that ticks so many boxes all at one time. I guess the only chink in its armour might be that some rivals have got a higher battery range, but then there aren't too many that can be charged as quickly as this one either. In design terms, I think it's absolute genius. It's not too often that you find something that's really good to drive, has got tons of room inside, looks great. It's a great piece of kit, and I think it well deserves its World Car of the Year title. Commercial vehicle shows coming up at the Birmingham NEC between the 24th and 26th of May. I'm probably going to be going one of those days, so if you're going, let me know and come and say hello. I think it's free if you're a commercial customer, so if you've got a limited company or something, I think it's free to go, but don't quote me on that. And all the major commercial vehicle manufacturers are going to be there. It looks like it's going to be a big show, and I'm quite looking forward to that, if I get some tickets, that is. New entry-level Citroen C3 costs less than 13 grand. So Citroen are not going to make the C1 anymore, but this basic C3 is going to come out at under 13 grand. And I'm just mentioning this because it's not the most exciting car in the world, I know, but I think it's pretty decent value. It's a little 1.2 cylinder 3-pot, 82 horsepower, manual gearbox, 54 mpg, includes LED headlights, body coloured bumpers and door handles, Bluetooth connectivity, 5-inch central touchscreen and DAB radio, lane departure warning, hill start assistance, cruise control, and a coffee break feature that warns drivers when they could be getting tired. With used prices as crazy as they are, I think some of these new cars that are coming in at these kind of prices are going to make a bit more sense to people than they might do otherwise. So just thought I'd mention that because I think it looks like decent value. Thanks to the 34.4% of people that watched last week's news video that were subscribed, 65% of you weren't. So break open your chocolate egg, put a smile on your face, click subscribe, click the notification icon and click the thumbs up. You know you want to. Unfortunately, my female viewership went down to just 2.1%. And I can only suggest that I maybe lay off those Easter eggs this weekend and work on my glutes, my hot cross buns. Look at this thing, the new Genesis X Speedium Coupe concept. This is going to use the same platform as the Kia EV6 GT. And what that means is a 0 to 62 of 3.5 seconds, but about 310 miles of range and 577 brake horsepower. But this is a gorgeous piece of design if ever I've seen one. I like this a lot. So Genesis, obviously the luxury brand of Kia Hyundai, much like you've got Lexus with Toyota, and where I think Lexus are aiming squarely at the German rivals, you know, trying to compete with BMW, Mercedes and Audi, It almost to me feels like Genesis are almost trying to push the envelope a bit, and they're trying to actually better what the Germans are doing. As a bit of design, that thing is glorious, and it'll be interesting to see how that develops in future. Right, we're now over at Autocar. The Dacia Jogger's been given 1 star in the latest NCAP tests. So this is the crash safety test that every new car has to go through, and it's only got 1 star. What makes this so shocking for me is this is a 7-seater. So this is primarily aimed at families, and probably families with young kids. And Dacia know that this car that they're producing is going to go through this safety test, and it's got 1 star. And it's got 1 star because of reduced safety for the rearmost passengers, i.e. their kids. It just beggars belief, really, that they're going to release a car primarily aimed at families that doesn't look after the little ones in the back. I just can't get my head around that. I honestly was considering one of these as our family car. I just thought it's going to be completely unastounding, but it's going to be cheap. It's all tried and tested stuff. If something goes wrong, you can probably get a part from a 25-year-old McGann and chuck that onto it. But there's absolutely no way I'd be putting my kids in something with a 1-star crash test rating. Odd move for me, that. Very odd. Right, over on Hot Cars, we've got what Mercedes-Benz learned following the Vision EQXX's first road trip. So this is a crazy concept car from Mercedes, and they're promising that this is the most efficient EV there's ever been. And the results from this trip seem absolutely bonkers. The trip started from Singflingen across the Swiss Alps and northern Italy to the final destination of Cassis on the Côte d'Azur. The journey was not just challenging in distance, but also in altitude and weather conditions, considering everything was cold and rainy. The idea behind the iconic road trip, as per Mercedes, to show what is electrically feasible. In doing so, the Vision EQXX research vehicle completed a 1-day road trip across several European borders from Germany to Switzerland, onto Italy, past Milan, and finally to its destination, the port town of Cassis near Marseille in the south of France. Now, this is bonkers. It covered more than 621 miles on a single battery charge and in everyday traffic. Mercedes specified that the road trip did not exceed regular road speeds and only did 87 miles an hour on the German autobahn, so it's being driven quite sensibly. At completion, the battery still had 15% of charge, which meant it could do another 87 miles. So what we're talking about here is a car that's capable of doing 700 miles real world on a single charge. That's an absolute game changer. And look at the cockpit as well. I mean, it's nuts. There you go. Wow. So this could at some point become a production car, I guess. But it'll be a stupidly priced thing, won't it? Why this is so important is Mercedes have obviously taken a technological leap here. They've either developed something new or they've adapted things to work in a different way. And the proof is in the pudding here, I guess. Once they start to do these things on a grander scale and make things smaller and lighter and more efficient and everything else, and it could mean that, you know, cars right across the board see a huge leap in their EV range. This is one of the reasons I really think that if you're getting into an EV right now, it's a good idea to lease one and not buy it. Previous years, it's been good to buy an EV because there haven't been tons of them in the market. They've held their value really well. But if you buy a car today and it's got 190 miles of range, and then in 18 months there's a revision of that vehicle, and suddenly it's got 390 miles of range or 490 miles of range, the one you've got is going to be less desirable and probably less valuable. So even if you're not a fan of car leasing, I think it suits an EV quite a bit right now. Just my personal opinion, of course, and everyone's entitled to one of those. But if we start to see more cars coming to market with sort of 500 plus miles of range, it could be a bit of a game changer, I guess. Obviously, they have to deal with the pricing as well, though, because the price of new EVs is still bananas, isn't it? Right, the VW ID Buzz has made its motor show debut. So it looks like this is just going to be a 5-seat MPV, which is a bit disappointing because surely you could fit 7 into that thing. Dash is very utilitarian and very VW. This infotainment system's got mixed reviews out there. I don't think this is particularly anything amazing, but it's all nice enough. Quite a nice airy looking cabin, I guess. Crazy colours on these things, as you would expect. And there's also a van version. There it is, the commercial vehicle version. Not tons of detail at the moment, but some strong rumours at least. It looks like the van's going to start at about 40 grand. The people carrier at about 50 grand. and it looks like it's going to be about 250 miles of range in these things. And VW's got such a ridiculous following in the van world. I think that they will sell an absolute cartload of them. I think it will be probably VW's biggest selling vehicle if you combine the van and the MPV together. And of course there'll be like a California version of it, a camper van version of it. There'll probably be a longer wheelbase one at some point, I would imagine. That would seem to make sense. You could then stick an extra row of seats in. But I think this is going to be an absolutely huge vehicle for VW. Do we know about Lucid? So Lucid are sort of an executive rival to Tesla. The company was formed by a previous senior executive from Tesla, and it's really taken Tesla on sort of head on. Styling wise, they're very, very nice indeed. And it looks like they've got the technology to match. The Lucid Air has gained a new Grand Touring performance model that the US electric manufacturer says is the most powerful EV in North America. The model is powered by dual electric motors producing a total output of 1,035 brake horsepower for a 0 to 62 sprint of just 2.6 seconds with a claimed range of 446 miles. There's also a Grand Touring model that's got 819 brake horsepower, 0 to 62 time of 3 seconds, but it's got a slightly longer range at 516 miles. So I think at the moment the Lucid Air is only available in the US, but I'm sure that will be available further afield within the next few years, because I think the Lucid Air is doing something that not too many others are doing at the moment, which is that big, huge EV executive saloon car with performance to match. I guess ultimately it'll be a rival to things like the new electric Audi A6 that we saw in the news a few weeks ago. But there you go, interesting. But thanks very, very much for watching. Please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe if you haven't already done so. And please try and support the channel in any way you can, whether that's following me on the social medias, which there are links to down there somewhere, or sharing this video on your social media, anything like that. Anything you can do to help. Jumping onto the website and buying a coffee really helps. A couple of people now subscribe to that, so they actually buy me a coffee every month, which is very, very kind of them. So anything you can do to help support the channel really, really is appreciated. And of course, the best thing you can do is just to watch my videos. Views have been down a bit lately, which is disappointing as I've been putting out more videos than normal. So do your best to watch the videos, give them a thumbs up, tell your friends, post it everywhere. There you go. Anyway, thanks very much. Have a great Easter, and I'll see you next week.